Hi, it's time for this week's question, and it comes from Jody. And she writes, our son is almost 2.5, and he's been a great sleeper up until now. He can climb out of his crib, so we moved him to a toddler bed. We are now struggling for over an hour to get him to stay in his bed and fall asleep somewhere between 9:30 and 10 p.m. He used to fall asleep on his own shortly after laying down, and slept through the night, but now he's even waking up once or twice and waking up too early in the morning. Okay, that's a great question, Jody, and it happens a lot. Even if I love that you've waited till he's 2.5 before you did the move. I do find that it goes a little smoother when the child's over 2.5. But even then, you can still run into some hurdles, and exactly the one you're describing. And it usually involves just your toddler sneaking out and sneaking out and sneaking out. Okay, there's a couple of ways you can handle it. One is to just continue to return him to his bed. And one of the things you want to remember if you're doing that is to do it non-verbally. Okay, so you don't say, oh, you need to stay in your bed, or don't come out again, don't get angry, don't, get into long, lengthy discussions about why he needs to stay in bed. You see him, you walk over, you take him by the shoulders, you put him back in his bed, you leave, and you close the door. You haven't said anything, okay? That's a really boring game, and most toddlers will try a few times and realize they're not getting any kind of reaction out of you, and they'll stop doing it. It's not worth it. If that's not working, or that can be really frustrating for a parent, you're returning him, and 20 times later you're still doing it. And if you feel like it's too frustrating for you, or you feel like you're going to lose your temper and maybe get angry with him, then don't do that strategy. Another one is to give a consequence. Okay, I remember going through this with one of my sons, sneaking out for various reasons. And it just came down to a consequence of, if you do that again, I'm closing your door. Now, he sleeps with his door, just open a crack. And the very idea of me closing it all the way was enough for him. And not to say I didn't have to do it. I did have to do it a couple of times. But now, it's just, please don't come out again, or I'll have to close your door. And that's usually enough to keep him there. So if he already sleeps with his door closed, then try some other things. Maybe he sleeps with a special teddy of some kind, or a blankie. Then you would say, if you come out of your room again, I'm going to take teddy, or I'm going to take away blankie. Now, when you say things like this, and everyone I know is sort of maybe gasping in horror at the thought of it, but you don't want to back yourself into a corner with an all or nothing. I never suggest that people take things away for the entire night. I think that that's too hard on both you and your child. So if you did take something away, just take it away for a couple of minutes initially. So you just take the teddy, walk out of the room for 2 or 3 minutes, come back, give the teddy back, remind him of the rules, and leave again. If he comes out again, well, now you take away teddy and you take him away a little bit longer. Now it's 5 minutes. Put Teddy back, remind him to stay in his bed. He comes out again, now Teddy stays way longer. And there'll be a time where it's too long. He didn't like it, he's going to stay in his bed. Okay, and again, be very neutral, be very calm. Even negative tension is still a tension, and some toddlers will just keep pushing and pushing to see if they're going to get a rise out of you. So be very calm about it all. And I suggest only one chance. Okay, and be consistent with that. If it's sort of random to how many chances a child's going to get every night, they'll just keep testing. They'll just keep trying. So it's one, come out. Please don't do that again. If you come out again, I'm going to have to close your door, take away teddy, bye-bye blankie, whatever it is. And if he comes out again, then the consequence. And you don't need to tell him again. You've already given him his warning. So if he comes out, he goes back into his bed, and now you take away whatever it was you said you were going to. Okay? And that should put an end to it. And do the same thing for night wakings. If he has a wake up in the night and is coming out of his bed, don't come out of your bed again, or there'll be a consequence. And that should get rid of the night waking. Something else you can do, and I say this a lot, is put a clock in his room. A digital clock duct tape over the minutes so all he can see is the hour, and then start talking about the number 7, meaning morning. And it can be a great way to keep a toddler in their bed until 7. I have a 2-year-old, and she waits until her clock says 7, and then she comes to our room and says, "It says 7," and she knows that that's okay now, and she can get up. So try that with him. It's a great visual. If he wakes up and it only says 3, he'll know. He'll maybe think twice about coming out of his room because he knows that it's not 7 yet. Okay, so just hang in there. It can be tough, and don't expect dramatic improvements with a 2.5-year-old. They like to really test boundaries, so it'll take a few nights to convince him that this is no longer a fun game, but it's definitely doable. And you just have to be really black and white with toddlers. No randomness. The rules should be clear, consequences clear, and that way they'll respond much quicker. Okay, so thanks, Jody, for your question, and good luck and sleep well.